Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer, our 61st episode. We got a good one for you this week. 2 games, 2 wins. The Flyers improved to 11-6-3. And as we record this morning, currently reside in the second wild card spot. But actually, if you go by points percentage, they're third in the East right now. Who saw that coming with how much we've been complaining? But hey, they're winning games. And that's all. That's the end goal that really matters here, as well as development, long term solution wise. But as stated, we got a good one. We're going to be going over, as stated, last week's games. We're going to be going over the rebuild and our thoughts currently, right now, as a collective whole, where they stand right now. Yay or nay? What do we agree with? What do we disagree with? Quarter mark of the season thoughts. Who's been impressing? Who's been disappointing? Whole 9 yards there. And then we'll wrap things up with next week's games and give our predictions there. As always, join with me in the bottom right-hand corner, one of my two gracious co-hosts. You know him, you love him, Mr. Eric Martino. Eric, how you doing today, bud?
Not too bad, not too bad. Little sore. Was on the ice last night with my daughter, helping her with her goalie practice. And Alex, there's an expression in Italian it goes like this. It goes "La vecchiaia brut," which translates basically to "getting old is ugly."
Oh, don't you tell me. I'm friggin' 34 and I feel like I'm 64. It sucks.
Oh man, I'm 41. I feel like I'm crippled this morning, like knee, my back, everything. But you know
Okay.
what? You know who's not? You know who's actually doing good? The Flyers. The Flyers are feeling pretty good right now. You know what? And you said they were third by points spread in the East. They're eighth in the league. In the league, they're eighth.
We've been complaining, at least I have, so damn much this season. And they're winning games. They're winning games. Last night, especially as we record this on Sunday morning, was an awesome one to go over. And I feel you with the old comments though, man. I will go for a run sometimes. I'll do like just a little 2 mile warm up, nothing crazy. Maybe 2.5 miles it goes because there's a train station's maybe 1.33 miles away. So we'll round it to 2.5 miles. I get back if I haven't run in a while, and the next day it feels like 2 atomic bombs went off in my hammies and I can barely walk. So I get it. Trust me. But anyway, let's go right into this. 2 games this week, as we did last week. FYI, folks, Jamey is having some technical difficulties. He is trying to get in here. If he gets in, we will obviously bring him afloat like we always do. But yes, 2 games last week, both wins. And we're going to go over them as a collective whole. And Eric, let me let you lead this off. What did you take from this week's games?
Well, look, what did I take away? Like the Flyers played well. I can't, you know what? I can't say anything. They played well. The first period struggles, they didn't really have as many. Well, I guess St. Louis scored two in the first.
Yeah.
But like, you know what? One was a power play goal. The other was 5-on-5. The first one was. But I don't think the Flyers played bad that period. So it's just like whatever. It's unfortunate. Um, yeah, and then like, look, the New Jersey game, they played well. They played games like the New Jersey game are kind of weird because once you take like such a big lead that like they did, now like and the other team like New Jersey, basically you play with, they have nothing to lose. So they're just like they're sending 4 guys in. They're attacking at 5, whatever. So that's why I think the game at times seemed a little lopsided towards New Jersey, especially in like the second and the third. But also it's because they were playing like nothing to lose hockey. Like, you know what, we're down 3 goals, 4 goals, or whatever it was at one point, and then they're like, you know what? So, but no, look, they played well. They played well defensively. I really like the Drysdale Andre pairing that Talkett put together the last couple games. They're really gelling, man. They're gelling, and Andre just looks like a beast out there right now. Like he's playing with such confidence, it's crazy. Taking chances and going up the ice and like not making as many mistakes and like just really confident. And it's really good. And if you notice, I think it was the last power play that the Flyers had. They put Andre on the second unit with Drysdale. So I like that, and because I think there's a lot of potential with Andre on the power play. So that's if Talker can get him some minutes, some extra minutes there, it's even better. Because I think we really do have something with this kid. And just also quickly, like the fourth line that we've been harsh on them, and deservedly so. Like they've been terrible all year. Like I'm sorry, they've just been terrible all year. But no, look, the St. Louis game, they were probably our best line. They really, I think,
Oh, I
there was
agree.
all those rumors out there, and like even Elliot Freeman said it on 32 Thoughts, where like Flyers Twitter went nuts, being like, "Oh, we should be looking for like a first line center." Like the fourth line was playing like ass.
Yeah.
Okay, like they needed a solution at 4C. Like clearly, Danny's doing his job and seeing what's out there. So but like, look, Abels and that whole line responded beautifully, especially in that St. Louis game, and they had their best game of the year. Against New Jersey, they played well also. Maybe not as good as the St. Louis game, but they were decent. So yeah, no, like a really good week for the Flyers. Kind of a short week, only 2 games.
Yeah.
But no, they played well.
I got to piggyback off a lot of what you said. The first period slow starts. I still felt like it reared its ugly head in St. Louis to an extent. It took them a while to get their first shot, but in the second half of that first period, they got going. So it's not more or less that they didn't have an ugly start, but it didn't last as long. It took them a little. They got going a little bit quicker. They ended up getting like 11 or 12 shots, I believe, in that period. In the second half of the period, they were starting to put pucks on the net. But yeah, it really Falk got 2 goals for the Blues in that one, and then Rodrigo Abels finally gets the fourth line on the board. As you mentioned, they had a pretty good game. It's about fucking time when they've had the level of struggles they've had this year. I still don't think Garnet Hathaway's registered a point. Nick Delorier, listen, with all due respect to the guy, I still don't understand why he's even in the lineup when you have 2 guys that can drop the gloves. His 7 to 8 minutes a game that he's getting, if that, is not going to be a make or break thing for this team. I would prefer to get Nikita Grabenkin in there at some point and see if he can actually become the net front presence that me and you envision him to be and win some board battles. He had that huge clutch goal against Montreal a few weeks ago. They don't win that game without him for sure. But, you know, it was good to see Rodrigo Abels get on the board. And then, yet again, this team gets to another overtime game before they finally end up winning on the Sanheim breakaway. That was one of the weirdest 2-on-0s I've ever seen, too. It looked like Couturier realized, oh, crap, I don't want to go offside again on that rush. He barely held up. That was kind of close. But
I thought it was offside. I'll be honest. I thought it was offside when I first saw it.
When I saw it, too, I was holding my breath. I was like, Coots, don't fuck this up again, please. I don't need another fucking drama fest for the next 2 days before this New Jersey game. But, you know, they show one thing about this Flyers team that I will give them credit for is they've had consistent levels of perseverance all year. When they've kind of gotten the MO as the comeback kids this year. They've gotten their share of comebacks, and they've got about 8 of them now, 8 comeback wins. They have allowed the first goal 7 consecutive games. And while this team isn't nothing like the team about to compare this to, it kind of has some memories of the 2012 Flyers team who used to always do that, always give up the first goal and seem like on a constant. Now, like I said, nowhere near the same team. That team was a high offensive octane machine where this one plays defensive hockey first. It's just the first goal similarity thing. But that New Jersey game, first of all, 3 goals in 26 seconds. That was fucking awesome. Quickest 3-goal span in the NHL this year. I think it was like the 4th or 5th quickest in NHL history. Fastest in Flyers history, too. I think they had 3 goals in 35 seconds twice. I remember Anthony Sanfilippo saying on Twitter. So they beat that record by 9 seconds. Tyson Forster is finding his game. If you had to give me my player of the week, it's my guy Tyson. 3 goals in 2 games, 2 goals in 16 seconds or 17 seconds, whatever it was. Sorry to give Bruins fans PTSD on that comment. But, yeah, he had the clutch goal against the Blues in the third period, too, to send that game to overtime. Tyson is finding his game, and I'm glad to see it. And it seems like him, Konechny, and Cates kind of got a little something going there. They finally listened to us. They finally broke up that damn third line. Not blew it up, but broke it up. And, it was, I think even, I'll give him credit. I think Konechny actually had a pretty good week too. He had, I think, 3 assists. He didn't look like Konechny of last year still. I don't know if we're going to get that Konechny this year. Maybe, maybe not, but he looked better. And I have to give him his credit. He feels more comfortable with Gates and Forster, it seems like. And it was a needed change to break that line up. So I was happy to see that. Again, after giving up that first goal, it looked in the Devils game, they were going to have another slow start. But again, it was kind of an abbreviated short start. So a slow start. They got it going second half of the first period, where, as I just mentioned, 3 goals in 26 seconds. They jump out to a 4-1 lead. This game breaks open just like that. And the quick response from Noah Cates to originally tie the game at 1 before the 3-goal barrage, it was good to see. And they kept their foot on the throttle. They didn't let up. They didn't play and prevent defense after that. They kind of kept their foot on the throttle in the second period until New Jersey, as you mentioned, kind of freelanced a little and just kind of played did what they could to get some opportunities. So they did get it a little nerve-wracking in the third period when they got it down to 5-3 until Zegras buries that beauty of a breakaway. It is no one better one-on-one with the goalie in the league than him. It's really a work of art. Truly a work of art. One thing I want to bring up from that New Jersey game that I really hope that they can implement more and try to avoid or wean away at least a bit from the dump and chase game, that they really did a lot under Tortorella, and that's get more of a rush offense. And you saw that last night in those 3 goals. All 3 of those goals were on the rush. It wasn't something sustained by keeping the puck in the zone and just puck movement and eventually buried one. All 3 of those goals in that 26-second span were on the rush. Now, mind you, you're not really going to have a controlled goal in that quick of a time period. More likely than not, it's all going to be on the rush. But it was good to see, maybe the first one would, but it was good to see that their rush game was implemented a little more. They need to, I feel like they need to divert from the dump and chase a little bit more and try to implement more of their style that they had. I know it's a different coach, but more of a rush on the fly type of game is what I'm trying to say. When this team is good at moving the puck on the rush, they've always showed that. They showed that 2 years ago when they had their playoff push with Tortorella. That was, I think, their bread and butter. Obviously, that might not be Tocchet's scheme, but I would like to see it more implemented because you saw last night what this team can do on the rush when they have those opportunities. Was very happy about what we saw in that game. And it looks like this team might be moving in the right direction. Now, again, I still have my complaints long term. Again, it can't take half a period to get going, but it was an improvement from prior weeks. I do think they continue to play pretty well defensively. Dan Vladar continues to be a confident guy to put in net. No issues there. Another 2 solid games from him. You're eventually going to have to go back to Urson for a game or 2 probably this upcoming week. So I need to see some confidence out of him because he was a complete disaster in that St. Louis game, even though they inevitably won it. The prior St. Louis game, not the one this week, just to clarify. But, yeah, overall this week, I think they played well. You're 11-6-3. You're currently holding on to the second wild card spot with games in hand over practically the entire Eastern Conference right now. I think, in fact, I'm looking right now, they are the only team at 20 games. Every single team in the East, they have 1 to 3 games in hand on right now. So definitely something to have in your back pocket. It's good. As mentioned, 3rd in the East in points percentage. I do want to see the offense pick it up, but this week was nice. I got to say, this week was nice. Eric, anything else to add?
Yeah, just one thing real quick. There was all those stupid rumors there about Poots and Mishkov hating each other or whatever.
You got to bring that up last night, huh?
That's stupidity, and it's you saw it right after Mishkov scored that goal, man. He went straight to Poots and massive bear hug. And then there was another point where I think it was Mishkov was like tangled up with somebody or like whatever, and then Kush
So
just came
another
in and was like,
Russian
no,
player in New Jersey, blank on his name, the big scruff that everyone got there, and then you saw
no.
the whole team jumped on in. I knew exactly what you were referring to. Sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off, but
So
yes, it's comforting to see that for sure.
exactly. So you know what? I think we could put all this bullshit to bed there.
Yeah, that was good. And you said, well, Konechny and Michkov chirping in the box after the fact, probably in two complete different languages. And then
Yeah.
I'm just thinking to myself, guy, Michkov's kind of like a TK type pest. He's really, he was becoming that last year.
I've said this before. I think Mishkov and Konechny are very similar players. Obviously, Mishkov way like not way higher, but like the way I see it is like TK is more like that 70 to 75 point player, where Mishkov is that 100 point. They're the same style, like very similar. They're both pests. They're not big. They're great. They're real good passers. They're great shooters. They just have a good overall game. That's it. But I just think that Mishkov has the higher ceiling. But I think they're two very similar players. And that's also, and I think I said this last week also, this is why I think they just don't work together on the same line because they don't complement each other. So it's like because they're way too similar. So sometimes I find it doesn't work when you put them together. But at the same time, like, yeah, no, like they're both real good players. If you can have one on, like, look, right now they have them on separate lines. That's perfect. You put one on another line, and I just also, yeah, real quick, like you mentioned, I really like the lines the way they are right now, the way Pocket has them together, and I think this is perfect. This is what I mean when I say, guys, spread the wealth a little bit, like spread the wealth. So yeah, no, real, I like it.
Yeah. I agree. Like the lines are definitely, are they perfect? Do I still have my share of complaints? Yes, but they're definitely better than what they were. Like you broke up that Michkov, TK, and Couture line, which needed to be broken up. Thankfully, I know it gelled for 9 games last year towards the end of the year, but as you mentioned, I think a couple episodes ago, it was kind of more of a freelance thing at that point. Let them do their own thing. Now that they're actually implementing a system, they kind of don't work together. I gotta see. Brink is not the worst guy to compliment Michkov with. There was one rush last night when Michkov was wide open in the first period, and Brink kind of missed him. Mind you, he was getting suffocated by 1 or 2 Devils players, but Michkov was just screaming for him to get the puck. So there's still some things maybe that they could work on, but I'm very glad to see that it seems like they're getting the message of mixing up these lines a little bit. And, again, Zegras, seeing whatever line he's on, whatever wingers are playing with him, or whatever other winger is playing with him, because it looks like they're more concentrated on keeping him on the wing than over center at this point. But whatever other winger that they have him playing with seems like has been elevated. And Owen Tippett is starting to find his game again ever since they started doing that. We, again, go back to the St. Louis game 2 weeks ago, or last week, whatever it was, had a 4-point game there. Put up another assist last night on the Zegras breakaway. It's good to see, for sure. It's good to see. But anyway, let's move on to our next topic. Not too long in this week because we only had 2 games. Right, pleasant change for once. But anyway, let's go on. So there has been a lot of talk about where the Flyers rebuild stands at this moment. And earlier this week, Frank Saravelli joined the Snow the Goalie podcast to just give his thoughts on where the Flyers are right now. And it kind of started a little bit of I won't say back and forth, but a little bit of an outrage on Twitter about where people believe like they are right now. Like, they've got more talent for sure than where they were 3-4 years ago. There's no question about that. But there are still holes to plug. They still don't have the 1C. They still don't have the 1D. We do not know for sure if we have the number 1 goalie for the future yet. Mind you, Zavargin feels like the guy who will likely end up being that, but we won't know that for sure until he steps on to an NHL ice. But, there are still question marks. But then when you see guys like Porter Martone, who has been absolutely on a fucking seismic tear in MSU, another goal last night, 18 points in 12 games, 10 goals in his last 8 games in general. Like, he's On fire is an understatement. He's like the Ghost Rider vehicle right now. That thing is just blazing through. If you ask me, he's my Hobie Baker pick today. I might be being biased, but best player on the best team. Michigan State's #1 in the nation, and he's been on a seismic tear. He looks like he's on pace for about a 50-point season. He's been great, but again, so there's positives and negatives. Like you have other prospects that are really making you excited. Denver Barkey, Oliver Baum's getting close to coming back from injury. Obviously, you got Alex Bump soon to come back. All the B's over there. Funny how many of their prospects begin with the letter B's. Barkey, Bump, Buck. And then obviously the guys like Van Saggy out, Michigan State, Murtaugh out, and BU. I haven't followed Amico too much this year, so I don't want to give too much talk on him. But as a collective whole, they have a surplus of wingers, but the centers and D-man situation is a little so-so. So let me ask you this, Eric. Where do you stand currently on the Flyers rebuild right now?
Look, I think it's advancing very well. Like I don't have anything really negative to say about the rebuild. Now, look, I'm gonna address like Saravalli's like just quick here. He's been very like now I know like he came out with his comments on some of the goalie this week, but if you follow Frank and if you've listened to his stuff in the past, he's been very negative on the Flyers rebuild since the beginning. Like he's been like even like when they hired Torts, he's like this is not the right coach for them. This is like a win now move. Why are you doing this? If like so, look, he's been very negative on the rebuild. So it's for like again for me, it's nothing new. Whatever he said is nothing new. But you have to understand there's different ways to rebuild. Now, is this the right way? We'll see. It's too early to tell. But like you can't say that this won't work because they didn't time. Personally, I don't like full teardown rebuilds. I find those it's not the right way to do it. I prefer like the because look, if you fully tear it down, what I don't like about that is now you're just you have no actual players on your team and no good veterans to bring up the young kids when they come into your because look at Bedard's first couple of years. Now look, Chicago's playing better now, although they got slapped in the face by Buffalo, I think it was Friday. But like there was no good nucleus of players to bring up. And now look, if you want an example like where I think the Flyers went wrong in 2014. Okay, I'm gonna bring this back to Hextall. Okay, the best thing to do back then, and why I think Hextall was also planned didn't work. And this is the type of rebuild that I prefer. They should have traded Voracek, and they should have traded Simmons. Those are the moves to make then. You keep Coots, you keep Shen, you keep G. That's your nucleus that is gonna bring up the team once they're good. Because I find the best way for a rebuild. Because look, you're still gonna lose. If your second line is a third or fourth line is third line caliber. If your third line is fourth line caliber, you're still gonna lose. But you're not gonna look like a bunch of idiots losing. You're just gonna, So look, they didn't do that. They didn't do that then. They're not real. They kind of did it now in a way. But look, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but we need the top 5 pick. We need that top 5 pick for like 3 years in a row. Okay, technically we kind of did get it. Now look, Cutter decided to leave. Like whatever, like fuck off. Like, but like he was a fifth overall pick. Then you get Mishkov that we got at 7, which he should have been technically in the top 5.
Yeah.
And then you have Martone, who we got, what, a 6?
6, who also looks like he should have been in the top 5.
Exactly.
Thanks, Nashville.
Yeah. But now, look, people are going to argue, yeah, but where's the center? Where's the center? Where's the center? I get it. Honestly, I get it. We don't have that legit #1 stud center. Okay? But personally, again, this is my belief. I don't think you absolutely need that stud center. Because again, I'm going to bring this back to 2010 Flyers. Was Mike Richards that stud center? No. Was Danny Briere that stud center? No. Was Jeff Carter that stud center? No. And If it wasn't for bad goaltending, we win that fucking cup. We would have a cup right now in our life. In my life,
I
I'd have a
know,
cup
right?
if it wasn't for fucking Michael Layton. But like, whatever. Now, they had Chris Pronger. They had that stud D. I think the Flyers. I think that's what this team is lacking right now. Because, like I said, again, I look at Luchenko, and I'm very high on Luchenko. I really like, and look, he's ripping up juniors right now, and that's
5
great.
primary assists his last game. They got to point that out too.
So again, I'm just gonna comp this. If Luchenko could be Mike Richards, if Trevor Zegras could be Danny Briere, and then you have if Kutz is still here and he's either your 3C or your 4C at that point, and then maybe they bring in somebody else later on, another middle six center, which I think they might eventually end up doing. And look, I think goaltending right now we're solid. We have Dan Vladar who's playing extremely well. Mm-hmm. So now you know that you have that guy this year, next year, they're probably going to resign him. And then you have a guy that you can count on to be at least that 1A right now. And then you bring up, whether it's Kolosov, whether it's Bjornsson, whether it's Zavragin, whatever. So you're going to, our goaltending, I find, is set. It's something I think we don't have to worry about. We're fine. I think we still need to bring in a 1D. That for sure. I think we need somebody to round out that our defense. But honestly, I'm not super concerned about the center position. Would I like them to bring in another center? 100%, yeah. But again, if you think that you're going to trade for a number one stud center, it's not going to happen. The only time it happens is something like a Jack Eichel when he's like, listen, they don't want me to get the operation I want or whatever. It has to be like a really like unique situation. So honestly, and look, I can't complain about anything that Danny Briere has done so far too to help this rebuild. You know what? He brought in Vladar, so he brought in a goalie. He traded for Trevor Zegras. He brought in a guy that can at least, whether he's a center or not, at least he's that hybrid center, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? So look, let's just give it a bit more time. It's still early. Like Martin's not here yet. Yeah. Denver Barkey and Alex Bump are killing it right now with the Phantoms. So you know there's more guys coming. Like I said, I'm going to repeat myself one more last time, but I just think they need to find that, not necessarily stud, but they got to find a good defenseman to round out the defense. I think eventually all the pieces are gonna fall in together.
So for me, I'm kind of like in the middle on this because I want to give Danny his props for what I think he's done well. His trade evaluating has been excellent. I feel like whenever Danny makes a trade, at the end of the day, we look at it, and I feel like he's done a great job. The Zegras trade this offseason was absolutely sensational. You traded a bottom sixer, a second and a fourth round pick when you had 3 other seconds anyway. It was a nothing burger. You gave up practically nothing for a guy who's got 21 points in 20 games so far in this season. Fantastic trade. The Farabee and Frost move, getting Joel Farabee's contract off the books, not having to worry about the Morgan Frost dilemma. And you also added another second round pick in the process. That was a good move. Scott Lawton, you added another first round pick. You added Nikita Grebenkin, who I still want them to use more. I'm not giving up on him at all. He's only 22. Good moves there. I love that perspective of things. The whole trade that they made originally to get Ivan Provorov off the books. When, they brought in Cal Peterson, who was a black hole. He was a black hole of a black hole. He was so bad, but who cares? You added Sean Walker, who you then flipped later that year for yet another first-round pick. So you got 2 first-round picks out of that deal. I think and a second. You did a sensational job with the Provorov trade. In my opinion, his best trade. The best move Danny has made in this rebuild was the Ivan Provorov trade, at least in terms of asset garnishment. That or the Zegras move. We'll see what the assets end up as. But, getting Kevin Hayes off the books, you had to eat some contract, but you knew you had to for the locker room perspective of things. Fixing the Tony DeAngelo mess, whole 9 yards there. I look at that. Danny's trading, I give him an A- on his trading abilities. Roster reconstruction. Now, this is where I'm kind of glass half full, glass half empty. Yes, there are multiple ways to do a rebuild. I 100% agree with that. You don't necessarily have to be working down the middle with all these guys. But here's my issue with things. You do still need some centers. And, they did draft some. Jet Luchenko, as you mentioned, we'll see how he turns out. He looks like he's really starting to take that extra step out in juniors. So that's good to see. He'll probably be a full-time guy in the AHL that you can eventually acclimate to the NHL next season when he is ready. The Jack Nesbitt pick, we'll see. This is where you kind of get me a little nervous with some of these picks. Last year, the Luchenko pick, it's still the jury's out on it. Everyone was losing their damn mind over Boyum when he was drafted. You could have had him. That maybe could have locked up your number one defenseman spot. Mind you, he has cooled down a bit in Minnesota over the last 2-ish weeks. So we'll see there, but that could have been your number one defenseman that we talk about that this team could have gone after. The Nesbitt trade, you traded 2 other firsts in this draft to trade up for Nesbitt. And we'll see there. There was other guys I personally would have went after. Your boy Atchison was one guy I would have liked to see. Eklund would have gave them a natural left winger for sure. Braden Coots would have been a good guy to bring here. He's a center. There's a few other names that I feel like you could have considered to go after over Nesbitt. But again, I always want to give a guy an opportunity. So we'll see there. Porter Martone looks like a home run pick so far. Again, we won't know until he's here. But one major issue I do have for Danny, and mind you, he has time to fix this, we'll see, is the major clusterfuck they have at the wing. What are they going to do with all these wingers? We already have right now up with the team, Michkov, Konechny, Tippett, Forster, Brink, Grabenkin, and I feel like I'm missing someone. I don't know off the top of my head. And they have Zegras playing as a hybrid wing right now, too. So that's 7 natural wingers that should be getting top 9 minutes. Maybe 6 if you don't want to count Zegras. But then you got to think about who's on the way. When Martone's season ends this year, you got to think they're going to sign him to a contract. He might be playing here at the end of the year. Who knows? Where's his spot going to fill? Alex Bum, he is really pushing for a spot right now. Now, mind you, I don't think there's any rush to bring him up here because he's building his confidence in the AHL. But inevitably, he will need to come up here at some point. When? Doesn't have to be now, but inevitably it has to come. Where's Denver Barkey's spot? And there's 3 wingers right there. And then we talk about the guys they just drafted this year, Vinsagi and Murta. When are they going to find a spot on this team? They have a clusterfuck of wingers right now that they're going to have to move. Now, mind you, this is where you move a strength to potentially bring in a weakness. Do you go after a Bone Byram, as we've discussed on prior episodes? Do you maybe call to Winnipeg to bring in a Brad Lambert, who is now on the trade market? Is that a guy you potentially maybe throw like a Bobby Brink for to potentially get? If you want a stopgap guy at the center, maybe for the short term, like a Ryan O'Reilly, do you maybe give Nashville a call to bring in a guy like that? There are options here, but the one thing is the 2 seed market is a very high commodity right now. There are a lot of teams looking for a top 6 center, and it is going to be very difficult to get that. And this is where my concern in the rebuild fills. I don't want to give Danny shit because I think he's done more good than bad. But the bad part of it is going to be hard to find those top 6 centers. Coots is declining. We all know that. It's clear as day. The guy is, 33? He's had 3 major surgeries. He's not going to get much better as time goes. I think Coots is better last year than this year. I think Coots this year is better than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But the last year version of Coots is better than this year's version right now. He's too hit or miss. He's too inconsistent. He should be a bottom 6 guy at this stage of his career, but they have no one else other than maybe Noah Cates to play there. And even Noah Cates, you can argue, is more of a middle 6 center than a top 6. But you don't have a bona fide top 6 center right now. Could Jet Luchenko or Jack Nesbitt eventually become that? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But it's a risk. You don't have a guy that you feel very 100% confident in outside of maybe Luchenko, and even then there's some criticism from the fans, depending on who you ask. Getting those extra centers here, just based off of the sheer demand there is on the trade market right now, is going to be a very big challenge. And it doesn't look like this team is going to be picking in the top 10 this year. Now, mind you, it's very early. Who the hell knows what the rest of the season gives us? But the challenge is going to be finding the ways to fill in those extra pieces. How are you going to get your next defenseman? I think getting the defenseman that you mentioned, Eric, is going to be an easier challenge than getting the center because there isn't as much demand for a top 4 defenseman compared for a top 6 center. A team like Buffalo, as we mentioned in prior episodes, there's a certain guy in Anaheim right now. Correct me if I botch this name, and the king of botches. Mintikov?
I think it's Minchukov.
Minchukov? He's been healthy scratch the last 2 games. He's taken a step back, but again, maybe a fresh start would do him wonders. Is he a guy you knock on the door on? Again, if you want a short-term guy, probably not the guy I think they would go over, but maybe if you want to go after Rasmus Anderson, if you consider thinking you can extend him, not at the top of my list, but again, that's another avenue you could consider. Like Roman Josi, as you mentioned, unlikely move, but again, it's another avenue you could go over. Maybe he's your Chris Pronger type. There are more avenues to go after that defenseman in the center, but the big concern to me is how are you going to get that center with the sheer supply and demand out there? There are, like I said, I could sit here for 2-3 minutes naming off the teams that are looking for top 6 help right now, especially down the middle. It's going to be a challenge. That's where my issue comes in. You had an opportunity to potentially get some better centers when you may have looked the other way. I think the Nesbitt pick is where my issue falls in. We'll see. Again, I want to give the kid a chance. I don't want to be hard on him, but you traded 2 firsts for Jack Nesbitt when the 2 teams that were going after him are Vancouver and Nashville. And let's be honest here, those aren't exactly 2 franchises that are known for building their teams the right way right now. So, and then maybe going back to last draft, I liked the Luchenko pick, but was Ziboyam maybe a guy you could have considered going after? Oh man, I'm blanking on it. Who is the kid that Buffalo drafted? The
Kostas Helenius.
Yeah, Kostas Helenius. Was that a kid that you could have maybe considered over Luchenko? I'm more confident in the Luchenko pick than the Nesbitt pick, but again, there was some talent you may have left on the board. So my primary issue is where are they going to find the ways to fill the holes that they have right now? Because I don't know if they're going to be picking in the lottery this year. If they are, maybe you finally can address the 1C or 1D issue that they have. But the way they're constructed right now, finding those holes are going to be a little challenging. And that is where my primary concern comes in. Eric, do you have anything to add?
No, look, you're absolutely right. Look, like I said, I'm high on Luchenko, so like him over Ziboyam, whatever. We'll see. It's like time will tell. And look, Nesbitt, like you said too, like I think Nesbitt's more of a project in a way, so I don't think we're gonna see him for at least another 3 years at the very least. So, I think, look, I think they, like I said, I think they need to trade for at least a middle 6 center. And like you brought up Helenius, like I think that's a guy that they could actually target. I think Buffalo is a team that the Flyers should be targeting. Because look, if you look at Buffalo's center position at the moment, they still have Tage Thompson, who, like, as much as people want to think, they are not trading Tage Thompson. I think they even came out and said it. 2 untouchables on that team are Dahlin and Thompson. They're not going anywhere.
No.
And I don't even think they want to be moved. So, like, unless it comes down and says, "No, get me the hell out of here," I don't see that happening. So, like, you look at them, you're like, okay, well, you have Kostas Helenius right now who's playing in their AHL team. So he eventually, and he's playing well in the AHL. So he's gonna eventually have to come up. They don't have a spot for him because they still have Josh Norris, but then again, like, who the hell knows? Like, he's probably,
I know.
Like,
keep that injury.
You can't count on him.
That's all you, Buffalo.
So, but they still have McLeod. They have Noah Ostlund. They have Yuri Kulich. So, like, they're loaded at center. So and I think I said this last year before the offseason. Like, get one of those three. If you could trade for Hellenius, Oslin, or Kulik, one of those guys, at least it'll improve your depth. And these are guys that are ready now. Whereas Nesbitt might be ready in 3 years, these guys are ready now.
Yeah.
And we have, and like you said, we have an excess of wingers. And honestly, I think Brink and Tippett, I think, are the two that I think eventually are gone. One way or another, I think it's one of those two because I think the Flyers love Forster way too much.
I think it might be both, to be honest with you, with how many wingers that they have.
Oh, yeah. I think eventually both are gone. Yeah. No, like, because look, like I said, Martin is coming. One way or another, Martin is coming. If it's not at the end of this season, it's definitely the beginning of next season. He's gonna make the team. Like, most probably he's making the team. Way too talented. So that's another, like, now, like, you say, well, maybe they're not gonna sign Devo, re-sign Devo. So that kind of creates a winger spot. I'm honestly thinking they might actually resign.
Devo's playing the middle anyway. So
yeah. So look. So I think, if they could get at least another center, and if that'll like I'm sorry, and like you mentioned too, like Coots, man, I think like he's really showing his age and
cooked. I hate to say it, but he's cooked.
Like, I know, like, honestly, I hate to say it too, because I'm like, I really like Coots. I think like he's still got something, but at this point, he's a bottom 6 center. I'm sorry, like, that's just the way it is. So, like, I don't know if they could bring in at least like another young center to like at least to play in the 3 spot, and then like, I don't know, it sucks. Maybe do you move Coots to 4C? Like, it's like if you go like, let's say Devo, Zegras hybrid at the first line, then you go Cates, then you go like young center, and then you go Coots. I don't know, but my issue is with this. Although I think it's the right move, especially for the direction that the team is going. The problem I have is, will Tocchet actually play the kid? That's my issue, and I'm like, because like we see how bad, well, not like how not great, let's say, he is right now. Will Tocchet place like a young kid, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old over Couturier? That I'm not sure. No. So that maybe it's more of an off-season thing, and it won't really be an in-season thing.
Agreed. With that being said, let's transition over to Rick Tocchet and the team. So we are now 1/4 of the way through this season. And the Philadelphia Flyers find themselves 11-6-3. Your second wild card per points. And by standings, your points percentage, as mentioned, 3rd in the East right now. They're looking good. Now, mind you, very early. We've seen this story before where they start hot under John Tortorella 2 years ago and then fizzled. So let's see how the rest of the season plays out. There's a lot of hockey still to play. Eric, let me lead you for this opening conversation. 1/4 of the year through. Who are your positives and negatives on this team so far?
Okay, well, I'll start with positives. The defense is a big positive. I think like just the steps that Drysdale, York have taken. Emil Andre, you see what he's doing right now, and like, and Sanheim is still like, like it's weird because Sanheim usually like hits like the ground running at the beginning and then like kind of slows off. I feel like this year he's just been really consistent. So I'm like, okay, good. Like if he could keep this throughout the whole season, just be consistent all season, no dip, fucking great. So I think the defense has been a huge positive. The other positive, Danny Briere's offseason moves have
good call.
All been great. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to something that you said before, right? With the Provorov trade. So if I'm not mistaken, the second pick that went to Anaheim was the Columbus pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
So not only.
No, wait a minute.
I think it was right. Yeah,
because you're right. I'm sorry.
It was either Columbus or Calgary's.
I thought that was ours for some reason. You're right. It was the Columbus.
No, I know it was the lowest. It was the lowest of the 4 that we had. So it actually might have been. So it was either Columbus or Calgary. I can't remember, but I'm gonna pretend
It
like
was
it
the
was
second
Columbus.
lowest. No, it was the second lowest in the
Was the
Zebras.
second lowest? Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so if it was the Columbus pick, so I'm going because I'm pretty sure it was. So basically, he took a second from that Provorov trade, which already was a home run, plus Paling, who he signed, never even traded. He signed and then re-signed, and turned these two assets into Zegras, who has 7 goals, 14 assists, and 21 points.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Home run.
Signs Devo. Yeah, fine. He overpaid, whatever.
It's only
It's
a
1
year.
year. Let's calm down. 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points on the season. Signs Dan Vladar, 9-12, 2.42 goals against average, and that can't be right. Anyway, he's been great. So I had a number here, but I don't know why I wrote 39. But I think it was 3 point. Anyway, he has a very high goals saved above expected.
Mhm.
So all his moves, honestly, have really panned out for the Flyers this season. And also want to say this: even moves he's made for the AHL team are just just paying dividends. Like he basically turned Ellis, okay, he turned Ryan Ellis, who's never gonna play again, into Carl Gunstrom and Guriev. Now Guriev, whatever, he's been up and down, but Carl Gunstrom, solid depth player. He played 1 game for us, but whatever. He basically turned a guy that's never gonna play again into at least someone that can help the Phantoms. Okay.
Mhm.
Then he turned Tuomala, who was getting scratched and whatever. There wasn't a place for him, into Christian Kairu, who has 11 points in 9 games for the Phantoms.
I was gonna mention him after this too. You stole my thunder. He's been awesome. They might be talk of wanting to bring this kid up sooner or later to be a quarterback power play.
Who
Power play
knows? You know
quarterback.
what? Former second round pick. He's only, I think, 22 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, we might have got something here. And then he turned Dennis Gilbert, who, like, honestly, like, whatever,
Mhm.
into Maxence Guinnett. So I'm like, you know what? Like, even if this guy doesn't pan out, but he's still a 24-year-old defenseman, former seventh rounder, but at least it's something that might become something for a guy that, who cares? So great job by Danny, I find, so far this season. And lastly, like, I think the special teams are, like, honestly, have been really good this year for us.
Mhm.
Like, the PK is 5th in the league. Awesome. Now the power play, like, I'm gushing over a 17.5%.
It's an improvement. It's an improvement.
It's so much better. So yeah, those are my positives right now for the team.
Speaking of positive, we have been joined by Mr. You know him, you love him, Jamey Baskow. Jamey, how you doing, hey bud?
Hey, aloha. Well, you know what? The technical difficulties have been fixed, man. Listen, I tried to get in this thing 150 times.
This poor guy. I don't think I
All
have
it's like loading is black, and the dial like isn't moving. You know what I mean? Like moving to the right. So you kick out, do it again, kick out, do it again. It's probably my error, human error.
It happens.
Really
It
not good
happens.
technical technology. I hate it.
Gotta love it. You gotta love 2025 technology. Well, I'll ask for your opinion shortly, Jamey. But Eric, finish up. What are your negatives for the year so far?
Well, my negatives clearly first period starts. Like they gotta clean that up. Like, these slow starts are you gotta start prepared, man. Like, you gotta start as soon as the clock hits like 0.1. Let's go. Like, you know. Which also, like, I was looking at some numbers, and, like, surprisingly, even though they have bad starts, they're only like -1 in goal differential in the first period, which is actually kind of surprising. With as bad as they've started, their second period is actually the worst at -4, and third period actually the best at +6. So, like, the comeback kids, I guess. Like, so yeah, that's one. The first period starts. 2, Sam Urson, he has to be better. Urs has to be better, man. -4.6 goals saved above expected, 0.846 save percentage, and a 3.30 goals against average. Man, that's even, like, pushing it for backup numbers. Like, that's like low end backup at that point. The offense has been a bit of a negative, a bit of a disappointment. TK and Mishkov in particular, I think they're kind of they've struggled to start the season. I don't know if it's just Tocchet's system. They're just starting to become accustomed to the system, and it's like I find it weird that both guys who I've said I find are very similar style players are both struggling in this new system. So that there might be something to that. Coots too. Coots is not having the best year either. And last is again, I don't want to say he's a negative. It's not that. I think Tocchet is a good coach. And again, like I really like what he's been doing with certain aspects of the team. For me, the negative on the Tocchet side is him prioritizing veterans over rookies or young players, which is a big issue for a team that's rebuilding, a team that's trying to figure out what they have in certain young players. Like, why is Delorier playing 2-3 games in a row? It shouldn't happen. You need to get your banking in there. And again, like certain usage of players, like why is a veteran that's making mistakes not losing ice time, and then a rookie who's making the same mistakes, he gets buried in the lineup. So those right there are like more or less my negatives for the season.
Gotcha. All right. So with that being said, let me jump on my collective thoughts on this. For positives, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of you a little bit, Eric. The defensive play has been solid. They've looked good. Their structure has been excellent. You know, the goals against average has gone way down. The structure has been significantly better. They look good in their own end. They're not giving up the amount of bad goals that they were last year. I feel more confident when they're in their own end now, for sure. Defensively as well, it doesn't feel like they take as many penalties in the second recent games compared to the beginning of the year. So I will say that's been an improvement from where they were earlier in the year. Other positives, Trevor Zegras, absolute superstar this year. 21 points in 20 games, home run addition by Danny, 7 goals, 14 assists, as you mentioned, Eric. He has been lights out. Dvorak, too, looked like a pretty solid signing. Dan Vladar. So, again, I'm kind of piggyback off of you a little bit, Eric. The offseason additions as a collective whole have looked good. They have looked good. And this one, I don't know if you mentioned this, but the Flyers' penalty kill has been superb. Superb.
He did say that. Yeah, he said that.
He did. I apologize. I did miss it.
Yep.
They're top 5 in the league. They're not the power kill that they were 2 years ago, but that's not what you're looking for in a PK. They don't need to be. They look good in their own end. I mean, they're not giving up those high quality goods. They're excellent at cutting off passing lanes, great at clearing the puck. It has been a comforting improvement to going back to what you were 2 years ago after a little bit of regression in the PK last year. Some negatives. I am not a fan. I'm going to scream it again. I'm still Rick Tocchet's scheme of offensive play, the dump and chase, the quality over quantity. I feel like I'm bashing my head against the wall. We saw positives last night. I'll give them that. We saw a good step forward last night. I do think they, as I mentioned earlier in the show, they need to implement more of a rush style to try to get the better opportunities of what the offense can provide. Michkov and Konechny have both not lived up to what our expectations are. And Sean Couturier, too. He's been a disappointment for me.
Oh, yeah.
Step down for sure. He's not the player
definitely.
he used to be. He's definitely struggling.
Except for that one game, he had a 4-point game.
Yeah, that was the anomaly for sure. But as a collective whole, he has struggled a little bit. And then I got to also say, if I got to give one more negative, the fourth line has been a black hole. The fourth line's been a flat-out black hole. I mean, 2 games ago, as we mentioned, against the Blues, they did look better. Now, Abel's finally scored the fourth line's first goal of the year. It only took a quarter of the season. They're on pace for 4 goals this year. That's not exactly good, but need to see some level of improvement there for sure. But yeah, you're 11-6-3. The team has definitely been better this year than last year in all things considered, but
Playing very well.
They gotta get out of this boring hockey thing because it's not sustainable, and you're not going to win every single game in overtime. They played 9 games in the extra session. They've won 6. They've been shootout magicians, which is awesome, but You're not going to continuously keep winning games like that at the end of the
No.
day, unfortunately.
Especially
Jamey,
on.
How about you?
To piggyback off that, I'll start with the negatives. It's not sustainable because the majority of their first half of the schedule, the first quarter of the season, they've been at home. I mean, they played at least 16 games at home. So they've had a lot of games at home here. You know what I mean? So 16 out of the 20 games are like at home. So yeah, their record should be favorable. 11-6-3. Use the home field. Use home ice advantage here. Now the real test is coming. They got 4 on the road here. Let's see how they muster, finagle some things. Being tired, from travel and stuff. The Flyers haven't had to travel like other teams have. You know what I mean? So so they should. Their record indicates that they should be 11-6-3 in the Tocchet system. My thing about I have pluses and negatives for Rick Tocchet. I'll start with the negatives. Rick Tocchet's usage, to piggyback off of Eric in terms of prospects. Danny Briere in the front office preached rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. They put it down the Flyers fans' throats. So with that being said, Nikita Grebekin's there, not playing bad at all by any means. He's just not getting ice time. Stuck on the fourth line there. Really with Abels and Hathaway, and I'm not discrediting those players by any means, but move them up in the lineup and you might get some juice from them. Have like Grebekin, Coots, Mitchkov, that excelled in the preseason. But yet, not even that. Let's healthy scratch him, for 2 or 3 consecutive games here. Like when you want to preach rebuild, 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 the young kids should play flat out. If they're not playing one game, they should play the next. That's how it should be. Play one game, and if you want to scratch him, from that, scratch him. But he's no rookie like that should be mustered sitting in the press box doing nothing for three games in a row. That is not beneficial at all. He hasn't played a game in a week. Put him back in Lehigh. If it's that bad, you don't want him to play. Put him in Lehigh. Do not let him sit there. And that's been my one big gripe is that the message is being misconstrued here. Torts was fired because he wanted to win. Now Tocchet comes in, he wants to win, and that's why it wasn't like I don't think that Rick Tocchet's a good coach. Because I'm like Eric, I think he's a good coach. I just think he was a bad coach for this time. I don't think they're ready to take that next step yet. So, in my opinion, not that he's a bad hire by any means, but I would have stuck with, another coach because you're not expected to win. You're expected to develop. And that's what a rebuild is. You're developing rookies, developing prospects, and hoping that they are able to get to the next level and sitting them in the press box for 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Limiting ice time for Matvei Michkov, it may not seem bad today, but down the road, he shouldn't be getting, less ice time or nothing like that. It's like Travis Konechny, I don't think has played very well at all. Actually, he hasn't played near the I love Travis Konechny. I've always been a Travis Konechny proponent, but I think he's had a horrible season thus far. I don't think he's been good at all. He might be scoring empty netters. He missed an empty net the other night and missed it last night again. 2 games in a row, he's missed 2 wide open empty nets. My son, who's only 7, could go in on the ice and score that. I'm not taking anything away, but in my eyes, he hasn't had a good season at all. Honestly, he's been my biggest negative, even over Coots, because I expected a lot more from the team. I don't care about the points. It's not about my eyes aren't bad either. Yeah. I know he's turning pucks over. I know when he's just not lethargic, skating. It's just weird. I can't really explain it, but my eyes are not bad at all. He's not playing good at all. Coots isn't playing good at all. Coots has regressed in a big way, but now there are a lot of positives. Danny Briere's offseason additions, every single freaking one of them have hit. Noah Juleson has been phenomenal, right? I wouldn't have benched him last night against the Moole. I guess he was a little banged up, but Noah Juleson's been phenomenal. Dan Vladar's been phenomenal. Like you mentioned, Eric, you said he was going to be the next big thing, and he is, in Philadelphia. Christian Dvorak, that's a negative to me. That's positive and negative. Dvorak should be playing 4th line center. That's the one that my biggest negative of Rick Tocchet is not using Trevor Zegras down the middle. I'm sorry, but the Flyers are in need of a 1C big time. At the very least, a 2C, a regular 2C. If that means it's Noah Cates, cool. So they're in need of a 1C then. Trevor Zegras should be given more time down the middle. It shouldn't be 2 games down the middle and then make him a winger because he didn't play well. Well, he hasn't had time to groom playing down the middle. He didn't really play down the middle last year. So that's a year. You got to give him time. It takes time. Another negative for me is line usage. I'm not a fan of constantly switching lines. Just keep the lines together, keep them intact. But positives, I got to say, you're right. The goaltending is a positive. The defense is a positive, and the special teams are far better. Power play and penalty kill.
No, you're 100% right, Jamie. Like everything you said, like on the nose, man. And that's the thing. Like also with Talkett, right? Is that if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. They signed him to a 5-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
It was something like that. So, and I think even it was said, or at least mentioned, that the first year or the first 2 years of that contract is basically to keep the rebuild going and to build up the team. And then the last 3 years are really to contend and to take off. But I don't know if like Talkett just didn't get the message.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he just, and I mentioned, I think a couple episodes ago, I remember hearing in the off season, so, like one of the insiders saying that like, Talkett's here to win. He's not here to he's not here to oh man, I'm blanking on the word right now. Develop. He's not here to develop. He's here to win.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then he wasn't the right coach at this time for the rebuild. Because again, like you mentioned also, we brought in Zegras. Oh, let's see if this guy could be the one seed.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have to give him a chance. Give him 20, 30, 40 games and say, okay, you know what? I'm giving you this runway and let's see if you could do it. He hasn't gotten it. Now, this whole hybrid thing, whatever. Okay. But like at the end of the day, you know what? That line together with Tippett and Devo, it's working. And it is pretty much a first line. So you know what? Okay, fine. I don't like what's happening, but like at least whatever.
Yeah.
But now, again, when Luchenko was here at the beginning of the season,
you
couldn't give him one game on the third line. You couldn't, like, before you even send him back, can we at least see what he could do in the top 6 or not in the top 6, but at least in the top 9? And let's see what he could do offensively with better wingers and elevated minutes, even maybe give him a shift or 2 on the power play. That wasn't done. Nikita Grabenkin, who was killing it last year, net front for the Phantoms, never gets a shift on the power play. Like, and he's getting scratched for Delorier. Like,
it's horrible.
No,
horrible.
These are moves that a contending team should make.
Yeah.
But we're not contenders. We're rebuilding. We're looking. Yes, we're looking to take that next step. But we have to know which young players can take the next step with us.
Exactly.
If we don't know, then I think I mentioned it to Alex before you came on. I think the Flyers should go get, like, let's say like a Consta Hellenius or a Noah Ostlund from Buffalo.
Awesome.
Let's go get like another middle 6 center, young, who could grow with the team. And I was telling Alex, my concern is that even if we get this guy, like, will Rick Tocchet even play him? Will Tocchet even, like, let's say, move Coots, who's having a terrible season? You know what? Maybe let's move Coots to 4C and put one of these young kids like a Constantinides or an Ostlund at 3C.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And let's see. But I don't think he's going to do it. And honestly, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, should Danny Briere take away Tocchet's toys? Like, at this point, like, Briere should be like, you know what? If you're not gonna sit them lower in the lineup or scratch them, you know what? I'm trading them. I'm gonna trade Nick Delorier. I'm gonna trade like I don't know, Dvorak or something.
Yeah.
You know, even though Dvorak's playing well, but like I'm talking tongue in cheek more. But like maybe at a certain point, that's what Briere has to do, because
I get it.
Like you mentioned, Grabenkin's getting scratched sitting in the press box. It does nothing for this kid's development. Send him to Lehigh Valley then.
Send him back. Just send him back at this point. I 100% agree with every single point you made. But they're not going to trade Nick Delorier unless it's at the deadline. Like they'll say the locker room, and he is a good locker room piece. I'll give him that. But that doesn't mean that Nikita Grabenkin and that others should suffer. Like you said, man, the development is bigger to me than winning right now. Like, it's about developing, Nikita Grabenkin. It's about developing Mafi Miskov. It's about developing, even Dan Vladar and Sam Urson. Even because they got to make a decision on Urson at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
All these young players. Trevor Zegras is still young. All these younger players. Tyson Forrester finally got bumped up into the top 6. So like it's about developing those guys, and we'll have to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, all the young kids should be playing flat out. If they're here, they're playing.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. So let's move to next week's games, Jamey. They got 4 games next week. They play Tampa, Florida, the Islanders, and New Jersey. 4 games all on the road in 6 days.
Yeah.
4 and 6. Oh my god. All right, Jamey. Like, I don't know. Give me some predictions here. What do you think of the record?
I have them losing tomorrow night to Tampa. I have them, winning. What do they play Wednesday? I have them winning Wednesday. They usually always win the day before. Thanksgiving is kind of weird. It's an anomaly that way. But historically, they play very well before, Thanksgiving. And then I have them losing. I have them beating the Isles and then losing in a revenge game to the Devils. Yeah.
I could maybe
I just can't see the Devils playing that. Like, if it wasn't, I'm going to be honest, the goaltending, like, if it wasn't for Dan Vladar, they could have possibly lost.
Oh, my. Vladar, like, even the power play goal that they scored there, I think Vladar made like 3 spectacular saves before that goal went in.
That still made a save.
We're like, come on, man. Like, but anyway, this week I think that it's gonna be a 2-2 week. I think they're gonna lose to Tampa. Tampa's really found their game, man. They're coming on. I think they beat Florida. They beat the Islanders, and like you said, I think New Jersey's gonna be really pissed about what happened last night. And again, like I was talking with Alex, like I think also like New Jersey kind of looked a little better than they were, just because like towards the end of the game they were really the second, third period. They had nothing to lose. They're just pressing. What the fuck? What's gonna happen? But I think Jersey gets their revenge. So yeah, I think I'm going 2-2 this week also. All right. So any last words there, Jamey?
No, I just I want to appreciate all the Flyers fans. I think Eric and Alex have really taken a niche here. You look, Eric is closing this out. He's done phenomenal. I suggest to give this podcast a big follow, because we're up to big things here. But Eric and Alex have really found their niche, and I really appreciate it. And just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all the Flyers fans coming up. Really appreciate you all for sticking with me. That's for sure. Sticking with Alex, sticking with Eric. Really appreciate you all.
Yeah, I'm gonna reiterate that too. Yeah, man. Thanks everybody that listens, everybody that follows, everybody. Like, thanks for everything. Like, we try our best, man. Like, we do what we can. Like, and Jamey, thank you too, for like joining us whenever you can and everything. Like, it's honestly it's a real pleasure and everything, just talking to you every week. And look, we're doing our best. We're trying to find new things to do and everything. And I think I was talking with Alex, so like watch out, guys. Maybe we might start doing a couple post games, so keep an eye out.
That'd be cool.
We'll definitely message. Unfortunately, like Alex had to leave early. He had some stuff that came up. He had to leave. So I'm going to be the one closing out. So like usual, guys, please, if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Give a like, recommend it to a friend. You know what? Word of mouth, man. That's one of the best ways. Word of mouth. And so that's it. I have no last words. I said what I had to say. So I think, to quote Alex, have a good weekend and let's go Flyers.
Liar. Yeah, you did great, dude.
It's still recording. Nordy, it's still recording.